Hello and welcome everyone for another ASUS ProArt webinar. Today we want to talk about how to actually host a more professional webinar, because most of the webinars that you're seeing right now look exactly like this. And we want to show you how you can easily switch from this to this. During the COVID times, it becomes very hard to interact with our clients, our customers, and our partners. So companies have to find new ways how they can present their products or services. And most of them try to host webinars like this. So there's the broad range of the quality in webinars, and we want to show you how you can easily set up a more professional looking webinar the same way we did. So the most important thing what really changes the look and feel of your webinar is the lighting. And I would like to take some time to talk about lighting. Right now, we don't have any light on. And as you can see, my face is covered in shadows. Right now, we only have natural light from the window. And there's a little theory about the light. You always have a key light, a fill light, and a hair light. And for that, I'll quickly show you how this can change everything. With the two lights that we have on the side, and if we switch on this one, it will be the strongest light hitting my face. This is called the key light. Now, the light from the window is still used as the fill light on the other half of the face, so the shadows are not too deep. And what we're still missing is something on my hat to distinguish my person from the background. And for that, we're using our regular office light. You can see the difference right now. It illuminates me from top a bit more, and it just gives you a dimension in your videos, makes the whole thing look more professional because you have proper lighting on your face and it's more pleasant to actually follow the presenter. Now, when you're more than one person, you have to be careful that you're not throwing shadows on each other. For that, we have a second light, which we can also turn on. And then you're pretty much illuminated all over. After we talked about the light, let's take a look behind the scenes, how our little studio looks like. This is how we set up our studio. It's pretty basic, I have to say. So we're using those two lights. They're powered down here with the power socket. We also have a supportive frame around the whole setup to hold up our second cam right here. You see our main camera in the back and our whole editing and control center right there. Now we talk about how we connect our cameras. We got two cameras here. One is actually a little camcorder from Sony, quite inexpensive. So if you need a cheaper second camera, a camcorder is always a good option because, as we already mentioned, you need a clean HDMI output. You can also Google it, which camera has a clean HDMI. And then one of the difficulties that we had is we need to power that camera. So right here you got your power cord. It's actually a USB, so you have to connect it to a long adapter all the way through on the frame down here into the power socket. Signal. You have a micro HDMI, so make sure you get an adapter for that camera to connect it to a regular HDMI. And then as well get a very long 5-meter HDMI cord and connect it all the way into the PC. Now onto our main camera, and here we did invest in a very good camera. We are using a Sony Alpha 6100, which just gives us a better picture overall than the little camcorder, and you can also see that in the recordings. Here as well, clean HDMI out. You have to get an adapter because micro HDMI to regular HDMI, and then HDMI cable all the way into the PC. Now here's the little trick. It's connected through a cam link because the PC only has an HDMI out. What we're doing is we're feeding the signal into the PC. So you have to connect it through a cam link. The other camera is connected on the front USB port because you shouldn't use the same USB panels with the cam links. Audio signal, let's go all the way up again. Audio signal here, the microphone, is connected to the camera and goes through the HDMI into the PC. We also do have a second option for the body microphone right here. Comes with a very long cable, so in case you're having a lot of side noise, sometimes we do overclocking videos, and then you got a lot of fan noise from the cooling, and then it's better if the presenter has the microphone on the body. You can just regularly connect this one through the audio jack. Now we got the light, we got the cameras, we got the audio onto our control center. We are actually using two monitors. One ProArt monitor, this is the PA328Q. It's an older model, but that's what we have available in our office. It just provides a better true color, so we can preview our videos and make sure they have the right color to be displayed on everyone's display. But sometimes the space is just not enough, so we hooked up a 24-inch monitor here as well, just sometimes to put certain tasks and programs on the other one. This is a digital signage monitor from ASUS. We use this one as a teleprompter to display the text, because let's face it, those webinars sometimes are very long and you can't really remember all of your text. And then it's easier if you can just read it from the teleprompter. Another point I always emphasized to mention, if you're using a notebook and you want to feed the signal into another PC, please use a wired connection and not wireless. The lag will be less and you won't lose the signal. You might wonder now, how expensive is this setup? We have to be honest here. This is a very basic setup. You could even go a bit lower than that, but for our needs, we were the most cost efficient that we could, and we paid around $1,500 including all the cables, all the adapters you need for the cameras, all the holders there, the clamps, the supportive frame that we're using, the tripods that we had to buy, and also the microphones and the cameras. So now that we talked about the whole hardware setup, there's actually what most people think tricky point to set up different scenes and to make your presentation and video more fluid and also more dynamic. And you can achieve that by creating different scenes. Let's say this shot, you just have the presenter, you have me. But if you only see me and I cannot display content, how can we change that? Well, you can also set up a scene with only the content. So now you only have the presentation that I have on my PC right now, and sometimes this is a bit boring, so you could also add me as the presenter into the frame, and now you see both. And also, we talked about it, we do have a second cam, and you can also set up different scenes there. How about switching up the camera, and then I can present some hardware to you. Either way, we will show you that this is not magic. It's actually pretty easy. You just have to use two different softwares and then you're good to go. So now I'm gonna show you our magician Miguel behind the scenes. He's making sure that all the scenes are set, and he's gonna take you through what kind of software he's using and how everything works. Hi, Miguel.
Hi, Denise. Thank you for having me here. So I'll go through the main software and how it's used. We use OBS here. It's a free software that is ideal for content creation, as you can switch between scenes, between inputs, the screen itself, as you've seen before, we switched through multiple scenes, and as you see now, right now we see Denise. So as a quick overview how it's set up, this is basically what you see. On the side are scenes, sources, audio, and the rest is here. Important, we start with the settings, as we have to dial in where, for example, this recording is going to, so recording path, which encoder we are using, so what encoder is, or how, in which quality the video is recorded. This, you find more information online if you search for it. What is important now for us is, and this is new in the newest version, there is also a button called Start Virtual Cam. What this does is it shows what is on screen as it would be a webcam. So you can integrate it in Webex. For example, you can say, Webex, please use OBS as your webcam. And this works for picture. For audio, you still have to use your normal microphone. So to set up, basically, you make a scene where you have the different contents you want to see in the scene. So I'll just start right now by doing a new scene. We call it test scene. Typing is something, so tests, and now it's empty. And here we can add different things. As you can see, only audio. You can have web pages in, display captures where you capture the whole screen that you see, game capture if it's for game as well, it's not interesting. NDI source, this will be interesting for us because of the connection to the notebook. We'll show you later, and you can also include pre-made videos. You can play it in OBS and show it in Webex, for example.
If you don't want to host a live webinar, just like we do.
Exactly. So what we will do here is we will get a video capture device. Video capture is cameras, webcams, whatever. If we add here, we can name it. So call it test again. Make it visible, and now we can choose from the different cams we have here. So for example, I would choose the cam link, and it then would show the cam link. As you can see here, I have here video capture device 2. This is actually the cam link. I'll take away the overlay. This is just a picture with no background.
A PNG.
Exactly, so we can put it on top, and no matter how we move the camera, it's always there. Further, so this is how to get single cameras in. We work with different scenes, so we have the main cam, as we've seen. We have the close-up from top, which is another scene where we get in. We just add different video source to it, and by clicking on the scenes we can see what's on. So a quite important step is then to go into studio mode, because here on the left side you can change things and then say we want this to go live, transition it over, and if you record or stream, then always the right screen is that what the other person will see or what is recorded. So if we start recording here, right now, no matter where I go here, I'm kind of search for the right scene and then think, okay, now it's time to transition, and now this part is recorded always. So I can prepare transitions over. So as we can see now here on the left side, we have two different things at the same time. We can always change the size. I could now make changes here while this is recording, transition over, make here changes again. So you can play with the scenes while Denise is playing with her notebook.
Yeah. Can you show us how you can set up a presentation from the notebook and add a picture-in-picture like the presenter?
Yes. So for this, we have two cam links, one for the main cam, one for the overhead cam, and every time, yes, as Denise mentioned before, when you use cam links, you should plug it in different USB hubs, USB 3 hubs. So another possibility to get video feed to OBS is called NDI, and basically the video is sent over network. So we installed into the notebook a small software. So this is downloadable for free. It's called vMix Desktop Capture for NDI, and you don't even have to install it, you just have to run it, and in the background it will send the video signal of the entire screen the whole time through the network. Then in OBS you set it up that you actually grab the recording. So, but to do this, you add a source, or you make a scene and add a source, and the source will be an NDI source. So just to show it, I will delete this source here. So I just have the overlay right now. I will add, now I have to search for it, NDI source. I'll just call it NDI source. And now a source name I have here from the vMix software different things, like only the Explorer window that is on the notebook, or only the vMix desktop window, or the entire display. So I'll choose the entire display, and here it is, the entire display. So like this we can, through network, get the content of the display of the notebook into OBS and use it as a different scene as well. Then we can do things like having I transition over. I have now the presentation in the background and the presenter in front. Let's go back to presentation only, then go back and forth. I can change here the size. If you click Alt, you do also change how much of the input you see. So, hello Denise.
Hello Miguel.
So now we have the presentation on the notebook at the same time as the presenter. So now the next thing is how to bring everything over to Webex. So we have all the transitions, go forward and back. And now to get this over to Webex, what we have to do on OBS is, as mentioned before, start the virtual camera. So what is shown here on this side is what Webex thinks is the webcam. And we will have the microphone separately as audio source for Webex. So now how do we get everything in Webex? On this side we would have what we would record or what would be streamed. So first we have to tell Webex to use OBS as a webcam. So we start here, start virtual camera. So OBS knows he has to play webcam. Then we go over to Webex. We start a meeting. But now we have here in Webex, Denise.
Live.
Live, exactly. And as you can see now, if we transition over in OBS, we can see how in Webex the transitions are done as well. And as said before, audio has to come from the microphone, so it's not through OBS. That doesn't work yet. I think they're working on it. But like this, you can transition between the video sources. So we can also go there and show the presentation that was or that is on the notebook. And you can see we can fluidly transition over, so we have very different options to present a webinar and to make it more interesting. You can do a lot of things, it can get really complicated, but you find a lot of tutorials online, so we try to keep it as simple as possible.
The other option, because right now what we showed you is how to host a webinar live, and there's a second option. You can pre-record your webinar the same way we do right now, and then play that video in Webex and make it seem like it's live, but you still have the option to have 1 or 2 trials. And Miguel will show you how.
Do I? What? I didn't know that. So to do that, we make a new scene where we add a VLC video source. VLC is a video player that just does everything. So here we can add videos and having them looping, or there are options to pause it when it's not visible, and then as soon as it's visible again, that it will continue. So you can basically really use it in scene transitions. So let's add a video. For example, the starting video of Denise. And hope it plays. Now it plays. Now we transition over. It pauses as it's not visible, and then it continues to play. And here we had also the option to pause it between, to go to the next video better. Like this, we can add or use videos as well in our recordings or into Webex, and it looks natural. So it opens so many different possibilities. You can add in text in OBS, you have tons of sources. So yeah, the setup is pretty simple, and then the creativity on how to do things, everything is possible.
One point we have to mention though, because we ran into difficulties there as well. If you're using a video source in Webex with a pre-recorded webinar, for example, you have to feed the audio source through a different channel. It's not going to take the same audio from your video into Webex.
This was actually quite a problem, as Webex only accepts microphones. Oh, here we are again. The audio you can choose is only from the microphone sources. So you can't say take this video out or this audio outsource as audio in. So what we have to do is we would have to loop the audio out and in again as a virtual microphone. And how to do that is with the easiest way to do that is with the software called Voice Meter Banana. So in Voice Meter Banana you have the different inputs and outputs. There are 2 virtual inputs and outputs. So you basically feed the sound out to a virtual input that then you use as microphone input in Webex. So there is our wonderful matrix effect again, but as audio, if we choose sound settings, and as audio we then can use the voice meter virtual input that we set. And then both audio and video would be from the video that you play. This is, I would say, step 2. So if you want to go further there are a lot of tutorials as well, but this is basically how you would do it.
So now that we already talked about that you can feed in pre-recorded videos into Webex, you might wonder, okay, I'm not a videographer, I'm not able to cut videos. We haven't been as well, but actually it's not that hard. And yes, they're called Blackmagic Design and Resolve, but it's not magic. So Miguel will show you what we're using as software and how to cut your videos together and render them into one clip that you can easily feed into Webex and make it seem live.
So if you have all your videos together that you recorded in OBS and you want to use them in video editors, for example, like DaVinci Resolve or iMovie or wherever, one important thing to do beforehand is to, in OBS, change the video type from MKV to MP4. And you do that in the top left on File, there is Remux Videos. There you add it in, click Remux. As you can see now in the middle, you just add all the files, remux them, and then you have both the files in MP4 and in NKV, and in MP4 you can use them then in the editing software. We're using DaVinci Resolve, so I open it already. I start with a new project. On the top left we have the media pool, the media we're working with, so we will have to drag the videos in there we want to use. On the upper right you will see what it's actually in the timeline, what are you editing, and the timeline itself is on the lower part. So I'll start with grabbing the videos that are remuxed in MP4 and just drag them into the media pool. It will ask me to change the frame rate as the videos I want to use have a different frame rates than the project I open. I will say yes, so the project will have the same frame rate, and that's what we want. And then up here we already see there are all the videos. We can quickly go through it to have some details. This would be in longer sequences that you also can, if you haven't named it properly, you can find out what's actually in those without having to open them at all. We go directly now to the Edit tab, where we have on the left side the media pool, and what we see, if we go here through one media, we see it in bigger. On the right side would be the timeline. So basically we just drag the video into the timeline, and when we then play it, it just starts at the beginning and will show how the video would look in the end. So as next we could use this start thing. We can just add it, and when we play, you will see it just switches over. So you can then have the normal cuts and just add one video after the other. With the cutting tool that is here, you can, when you put your timeline somewhere, and you can just cut the video in multiple pieces, and then, for example, say, hey, this part I don't like, I will delete it. If you click it with delete, the rest of the video snaps into that place. If you do it with backspace, it just takes it away. So if, and this you can do as well, let me show you, if you have tracks that go over each other, you can further edit more complicated ways, but the simple way is just to add all the videos together and then click on deliver when you have it like you want it. There are some presets for YouTube, Vimeo, and others. You can also custom it.
Normally we go for YouTube, as it is full HD, 30 frames. We change it to MP4, use H.264 codec, and then we add it to the render queue to tell Resolve to actually produce the video. So we add it to render queue. We call it test2, MP4 save. Now you see it's in the render queue. We start the render. We double clicked it, so start the render. It now works in the background, and in the timeline up here you see where it is in the rendering process, or also in the timeline. And then when it's finished, you have your finished video that you then can use to add in again into Webex, or you can put it on YouTube, Facebook, wherever. So that's the editing part in a short.
And we wouldn't be ASUS if we do not recommend hardware for you to set up your studio. Right now what we're using is a ProArt PA329UC, the K version with the calibrator, because we want to see the true color of our videos, and we want to know how the colors and the video is going to be displayed on somebody else's display. And with that, the pre-calibrated monitor, we get true color and we can really preview our artwork. We also build a machine to be able to handle all of the tasks, because you have different software open, you're capturing a lot of video content, and you just need a powerful machine to be able to render all of your files in the end. So what we build is a PC, and we're using a 2070 Super graphics card and an i7 Intel Core. But of course, you could actually get away with less. I would suggest to use at least an i5 to have enough cores to do all the rendering, and also probably a 1660 graphics card and up. For everyone who doesn't know how to build a PC, we also offer different studio books. That's the latest one we have on the market. The ASUS Studio Book is fully equipped with everything you need for content creation and rendering. You can check it out. We will also put it in the link right here. Oh, by the way, you got any more questions? Hit us up. You see our contacts here below. Bye!
Thank you, Steve Jobs.